Hi, welcome to Mercurius Being Astro Update. I am Amy and I'm welcoming you in on the day before the Mercury max elongation as morning star. That'll be tomorrow on October 8th. And then the Aries full moon, which will be on Sunday, October 9th. And so I'm trying to get my Aries on with a little red. Certainly feeling the Aries Mars energy the last couple days. You know, a little bit of aggressiveness, a little anger, a little frustration kind of pushing through, noticing surrounding in the traffic and the cars and the speed at which things are moving. Pluto is also stationing direct, so that's a lot of movement going forward, which all feels good and refreshing, especially if there has been stagnation. And again, this is, you know, this Astro Update is always kind of a generalization of the energies going on because, again, you know, you don't know specifically how this will affect you unless you look specifically at your chart and the degrees at which the full moon will occur, what houses, what planets they touch in your chart. So again, just take this as kind of that astro energy update. That said, so max elongation of Mercury as a morning star, so it's going to be rising ahead of the sun. It's going to be pulling ahead, you know, as we see it, as far as it's going to go. It's through the retrograde period, but this is kind of the last phase of the retrograde period, where it is catching up. It's surpassing the speed of the sun. Things are returning to quote unquote normal, but the whole purpose of the Mercury retrograde period would be a waste if we return to normal. The whole journey throughout the Mercury retrograde phase is to really go within and kind of release and review all outworn parts of ourselves, and then seed, reseed, and then receive the benefits of our delving into the underworld of our subconscious mind and kind of retrieving those parts of ourselves that we've lost or that we'd like to bring forward. And so as Mercury moves forward and really out into the world again, kind of normal speed, normal action, we're integrating all of these parts. I hope you've been doing a lot of journaling since August 27th. That was max elongation evening star. So looking back at this phase from that period, which signals that phase to switch sides of the mind, switch selves, to more of a non-linear thinking, more imaginal thinking, and then the Mercury inferior conjunction with the Sun, which was exact on September 23rd, and then active the day before, the day after, which was also tied in with the fall equinox, so that was pretty potent. And then now moving forward and having a full moon and Pluto going direct at the same time. Pluto, the lord of the underworld, in the sign of Capricorn, of restructuring. So a really great support system going on there for this, you know, underground mercurial activity. So again, just, you know, don't waste that time that you spent reviewing, or when things, excuse me, weren't working as planned, weren't going all full speed ahead, you know. So bring all of those things that you mined from below and start bringing them out into the world. And as you do that, expect perhaps a bit of chaos as we integrate these new things into our normal, regular life and go forward. So they might not, the pieces might not fit in quite right. And that's the whole point, right? I mean, that's the whole point if this is the work you want to do. Let me reframe this. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately because this has come up a lot. Not everyone in your life is into transformation. which, you know, this for me is like, what? Nobody likes, you know, what? You don't want to get your life all messed up and like go into yourself and see all the things you're doing wrong or right. But just understanding this might be unique, especially if you're listening to me talk, you're probably into transformation, right? But just having patience and balance and love and compassion and acceptance and all of those good things for people who aren't taking the same journey. And again, it's not better or worse, it's just different. If you tune into this, you're probably a little more Plutonian like I am, and you like to dig in and see what's going on and figure things out. All right, so Pluto going direct, maybe some of those things that have been, you know, we've been working through have a little more push and support. The full moon always brings things to light. You know, what the new moon promises, the full moon fulfills. So on the it was the 25th was the new moon, the Virgo Libra new moon. Gosh, I lose track, don't I? The equinox was on the 22nd. Mercury inferior conjunction was on the 23rd, and then the Libra new moon was on the 25th. So whatever you started at that time, you might see some blossoming. And again, if you've been taking the Mercury journey, those blossomings might not be blossoms, but they might be just little seedlings poking their head out and maybe feeling the winds of change upon them. And again, incorporating them into your life. So just a couple words about, so right before the moon forms the opposition to the sun, so the moon is in Aries, thus the Aries full moon, it is making some aspects to the other planets. So it trines, first of all, the moon in Aries opposes Venus in Libra. Here, I'll show you the chart. Here's the chart, blinded by the light. So we've got the sun and Venus in Libra. We have Chiron and the moon in Aries. And then we have Mars, 22 degrees. I'll talk about that later. And then Saturn, 18 degrees Aquarius, and it's sextiling the moon, and it is trining the sun and Venus. So I'm thinking Saturn, which rules Capricorn, which Pluto is in and just is moving direct in. So restructuring in the sign of Aquarius energetically, unconventionally, thinking outside the box, unconventional solutions. So Saturn, the god of structure in Aquarius, is kind of mediating between the moon and Venus, the moon and the sun at this time. Chiron, the sun and Venus. So just kind of reworking ground rules, ground rules, easy for me to say. Mediating between these energies, this Libra balancing energy ruled by Venus, and the Aries energy ruled by Mars. Saturn's all about being responsible, having and carrying authority, becoming one's own authority. So really taking responsibility for how we are balancing ourselves, kind of our I am principle in Aries, and then the we are, I am with you, balancing principle in Libra. So the moon, before it goes to the sun, opposes the sun, it opposes Venus. And so there's kind of a relationship, it's going to get a little bit of a push. Like, how is it balancing? Are we being too forthright? Are we not being forthright enough? It's conjuncting Chiron. The moon is bringing up maybe some old insecurities, some old hurts, some old hurt feelings. And then the full moon in Libra. So the moon exactly opposes the sun, really highlighting again the polarity between Aries and Libra, which I'll talk a bit about. And then the moon sextiles Saturn, inspiring on us to just focus on, you know, some real steps we can take to make it work for not only you, but for the others, the relationships in your life. All right, I wrote down my thoughts for this kind of full moon. Well, at first I was thinking call to wholeness, right? Thinking of Venus and the healing properties of Libra Venus. And then as I'm thinking and I'm going through the different degrees, which I will touch on here in the Sabian degrees, it's really more of a calibration. And so I was thinking of this being more of a dialing. What is the difference between dialing it in, calibrating something, or phoning it in, right? Just going through the motions for yourself in relationships, you know, doing really a disservice to a relationship by just phoning it in. You know, what's that? That's shadow Libra, right? We'll just get along, everything will stay balanced, but we're not really having a raw experience, which would be the Aries, which might be ugly and messy and hard and harsh. But what it is real. It's not phoning it in. It is showing up, being present, being real, perhaps being combative, but you each know where each other stands and you balance from that point, okay? So I'm going to go back to the degree at which Mercury is max elongation, which is 28 degrees Virgo, morning star. And this I'm on a Lynda Hill kick. So here we go. Sabian Oracle, Lynda Hill, 28 Virgo. A bald-headed man in uniform has seized power. And no, it's not about Jeff Bezos. But bald-headed man, very Aries. That's a very Aries symbol. So I thought, even though this has nothing to do with the Aries full moon, interesting that it's at this degree. So we'll just skip to the Oracle. This may be the time to seize power and to push forward with decisions that need to be realized and grounded now. Someone may need to take a stand and direct the course of action. It is most likely by force of will that the best solution will be found, but one must be careful to temper the situation, as strong displays of masculinity could get out of hand very quickly. Somebody may be pushing their agenda a little too hard, taking over and showing control issues. There are times when someone has to take charge. The question is, in this situation, are they doing it wisely and kindly? Is love guiding their decisions, or are they just being pushy and forceful? So that kind of also points to that Aries-Libra polarity. If someone is being over the top and bossy, this may be because of feelings of inferiority that they are trying to mask or cover up. That would be a little bit of Chiron in there, especially if they feel that life has passed them by. Reining in the many facets of one's personality into a single focus of action can work wonders now. So again, there's this calibration, this dialing it in, okay? The degree of the sun is 16 degrees Libra, 32. We'll round it up to 17. It shouldn't be that hard to find. A retired sea captain watches ships entering and leaving the harbor. Again, from Lynda Hill. You may feel that the stormy, unpredictable emotional life is something you can leave behind. In your situation, like the sea captain, however, there will always be frustration experienced in the desire to return to the arena where the action is. Right now, an objective and calm understanding of life's experiences is the true goal, along with rest, relaxation, and nourishing the body and spirit. However, there's a need to be wary of merely looking out at the world from a confined perspective and feeling like you've got no choice but to sit, observe, and reflect. It is quite possible that there are still a lot of new experiences out there for you. This may be about some measurement of retirement, but it's certainly not likely to be the end of life. This time could be an interim period with time spent contemplating your next move. Reflecting on the past shouldn't dominate your possibilities, opportunities, or desires for new experiences. Rather, this is a time to sit and contemplate and to make plans for what is yet to come. A whole new arena of activity is quite likely to open up after a period of recharging your batteries. So I like how this is kind of this calm, this pause, but there's a lot of activity, a lot of Mars, Aries energy behind it. And also that there's kind of like this making plans or moving forward, which kind of points back again to the Mercury. Excuse me, I probably shouldn't have said that about Jeff Bezos. Now I have a curse on me. Okay, I'll take a drink. All right, 17 Aries, the degree at which the moon is at. And the Sabian symbol for this is two prim spinsters sitting together in silence. The oracle for this: in the situation facing you, remember that it is easy to become socially isolated when you hold on to conservative, judgmental, or moral ideas. Ask yourself if there is a select, restricted group with whom you are associating. Look for any opportunities to open you up to deeper and further levels of communication. Be wary that a false sense of security doesn't isolate you from change and growth. People don't want to talk to each other if they feel their relationship has become boring, with nowhere to go and without much of a future. If people have nothing to say to each other, should they spend their time together? This is that relational checkpoint, right? Like, are we really serving each other if we're not being real? And interesting that this is 17 Aries, not Libra, right? So it's pointing at that polarity once again. Unresolved issues may be too difficult to discuss. They can lie beneath the surface, causing fear, isolation, and loneliness. Silence or quietness can conceal frustration or feelings of sacrifice and loss. If there are no children in their lives and they are said to be quote-unquote spinsters, unmarried women, is that an issue? There is an old-fashioned belief which says it is important to our friends to believe that we are unreservedly frank or honest with them, and important to friendship that we are not. That may have suited conditions in the past, but now we have to be more open, honest, and communicative with others and with ourselves. So that does point to that, being real with each other in relationships. So Aries, like I said, is all about the I am, how are you, your assertiveness, your being. And then, wow, it's a big old checkpoint, right? Being in relationship with someone and then maintaining your sense of you while hearing and balancing the needs of another without going too far. Kind of that balance point, being too honest, not honest enough. All right, so that said, so those are the Sabian symbols. There is a lot to do with the number 22 and 2, and I will go back to that. I will do another video about Venus's star point, which is coming up on October 22nd, 2022. So 10, 22, 2022, which adds up to 11, which is 2. And like I said, Mars is at 22 degrees Gemini at this lunation. Venus was at 22 degrees Virgo at the last lunation, or I pointed it out at one of the recent ones. And then I looked at the Vedic chart, so the sidereal, this is a lot of information, chart for this lunation, and the sun and the moon are at 22 degrees Pisces Virgo, 22 minutes, okay? So I did look up 22, let me see if I find it. But there's just a lot about 2 as well. 22, number 2 is divine life, purpose, and soul mission. 22 is diplomacy, intuition, emotion, balance, and harmony, adaptability, personal power, redemption, idealism, expansion, evolution, service and duty, and manifesting your highest ideals and desires. But I'll bring that back. Maintain your convictions and keep an optimistic outlook and positive attributes. attitudes. I'll come back to that with the Venus Star Point video, because that is a lot. But anyway, it's just funny. I mean, obviously 22 year, and maybe when we even get into November, right? That'll be November 2nd, 2022. Or November 22nd. Anyway, so there's some numbers that are coming up. And then of course, Justice card, which has to do with Libra, is the number 8. The Emperor, which has to do with Aries, is number 4. So we have 2, 4, 8. So anyway, those are just some of the numbers that popped out. I'll revisit that a little bit, but just kind of maybe notice if they're popping up in your life as well. The cards, the tarot cards associated, since we're on that subject, I thought I'd pull another Justice card from a different deck, and it is a Kim Krans day. So here are my Justice cats. I love this. And Justice is the number 8. It is decisions, karma. With tails entwined, 2 cats look directly at you, waiting for you to choose between them, which is right and which is wrong. Put that a little closer. The Justice card implies a weight or heaviness surrounding a choice you have to make. Now is not the time to shun the concept of divine balance or karma. All of your choices affect your life and sometimes the lives of those around you, both now and in the future. All right, so that's Justice and having to do with Libra and balancing. And then for the Emperor or the Aries moon, protection, stability, the Father. The Emperor is the Father. He's the Tarot's perfect counterpart to the Empress. He represents the side of you that's protective, decisive, and truly stable. He brings clarity of mind, and this in turn leads to actions or decisions. Sometimes this card is literal and points to a paternal relationship in your life. At other times, it suggests reconnecting with a part of you that stands strong and tall and knows just what to do. With help from the Sun, the Emperor can see for miles and miles. All right. So that said, I just had a couple more words like of this being a good time for as far as like the Libra energy, of balancing, of study and learning, gaining wisdom and understanding, and performing kind of secret acts of kindness or compassion and altruism. Just being that balancing force in your own life and then letting that spread out to others. And then the Aries polarity is kind of about being present, really showing up for yourself, and as kind of that, you know, energetic emperor, protector force, that sustainer, and just really expressing yourself in that way. And because this is a full moon and it is about polarity, that may not always go super well, but knowing that it needs to happen, okay? And then the rebalancing and the recalibration can occur. Okay, so a few things about Aries and Mars. So we have, like I talked about Venus and Libra last time. Of course, this is the sign for Venus. This is really a quickie here. This is the modern sign for Mars. You're all familiar with that. But the ancient sign for Mars, gosh, that light, is the opposite of Venus. It's the cross of materiality above the sign of spirit, the circle of spirit, whereas Venus puts the circle of spirit above the sign, the cross of materiality. So it's an inversion. So Aries, the horns of the ram, is the sign. It's a lot about the head and the face and charging forward, not necessarily before thinking. So there's a spontaneity to it. There's a decisiveness, assertiveness, fearlessness. And Aries isn't just necessarily fearless, stupidly fearless, I would say. It's more like They're compelled to be fearless because that's just part of what's in them, is that sense of adventure. Like they do need to see what's on the other side of the mountain. All right, so energetic, assertive, courageous, constructive, quick-witted, sometimes quick-tongued. Shadow Aries, impulsive, inflammatory, rash, headstrong, impatient, selfish, argumentative, jealous, combative, dictatorial, insubordinate. The colors red and scarlet, essential oils, basil, black pepper, and ginger. They're all very good digestive herbs as well. So this from Adam Gainsburg on Aries. Aries is the domain of consciousness, which involves the initial instinctual move outward, away from the known and into the unknown. It is an individuating energy, full of discovery of one's physicality, your physical body, and the subjective experience that I exist. Aries encompasses the urge to live fully, to be engaged in activity, and experience life in all its aspects. Because of its immersion into physicality, Aries may tend to overdo and push oneself past one's bodily limits. This is a great quality for athletes, but can lead to imbalance and injury if not heeded over time. Aries self-realization occurs through total immersion and unification of self and energy toward a goal, a competition, a task, movement forward, and strategizing. So medically, Aries is the sign of attack and defense. It's the principle of energy and awareness of self. It rules the face, the head, and the adrenals. Health problems associated with Aries: headaches and migraines, high temperatures, eye problems, depression when Aries activities are blocked. So if you have somebody who has a lot of Aries or a strong Aries signature and they've got a really long Saturn transit, that can be really hard. It's hard on anyone, but it could be especially hard on someone with a lot of Aries. So anger, accidents, especially to the head. So these are all health problems with Aries. Adrenal function problems, including adrenal exhaustion, stress-related immune disorders, and surgery. So Mars is that outward masculine function, whatever your gender is, it's that centrifugal force. It's the moving outward. That's how we define that energy in astrology. So it's leaving something behind and it's exploring something new. It's being active and initiating and individuating. It's having your own agency, Mars is. It's something we do. Venus is something we be, we are, we embody, okay? It's energy, it's the heat in the body, it's courage. Let me see, so Mars rules Tuesday, Venus rules Friday. It's associated with the navel chakra, the Manipura. Things like, people like knights and warriors and athletes and young men, mechanics. So if you typical Mars symbol, sports car or a loud car, red car, teenagers, teenage boys or young men, bumping some loud music, going fast, then equally is Mars, a cop car chasing them, right? And then, Saturn, like I said, Saturn will slow them down. Nothing like a long line waiting for a train and a long line of cars. That's Saturn, Mars right there. There's nothing you can do about it. You have got to wait there until the train moves, unless you completely go a different route. All right, back to Mars people. Argumentative or quick-tempered people, police, butchers, chemists, chemistry, chemists burn, and chemists don't burn, chemicals burn. So anything burning and heat related is all Mars. Fires, firefighters, butchers, those with reddish complexions, surgeons, mechanics, military men, boxers, craftsmen or criminals, robbers, thieves, working with one's hands or back more than one's head, which is interesting. just more hands-on energy. Mars cuts out. This is probably from Kriyananda from a long time ago. Saturn cuts down and Uranus cuts through. Mars, think of fire and iron, and the warmth of the body, and heat and the necessity. The sun is exalted in Aries, the energy of the sun and fire to fuel the body. Iron in the body, iron in the blood is hemoglobin, and there would be no oxidation in the body and consequently no heat in the body if we didn't have iron. So the ego and the fire make the body available for the spirit to dwell in this lovely temple. Mars represents medically the immune system, the inflammatory response, adrenal function, production of body heat via digestion and muscular action, sexual arousal, hemoglobin and blood fibrinogen, and white blood cells and the left ear. So a strong Mars throws anything out of the body. It's a natural adversary of Saturn, which makes everything cold and damp and slow. It's an adversary of Neptune, which undermines the separateness of the unit. So Neptune, you know, we're one with everything, but your aura's wide open, your immune system's wide open, you're susceptible to flus and colds and every other thing, whereas Mars, like, bring it in, honey, have your own energy field, have your own assertiveness, be in your physical body. That's why I'm always like such a big proponent of get out in nature, exercise, work out, do some strength training. All right, Mars governs inflammation, as I said, and that's the body's response to injury. And Mars rules the function of clotting, which walls off an injury. White blood cells, which ingest any foreign bodies and prevent infection. And yeah, Mars is great. Metal, iron, color red, stones, bloodstone, diamond, red jasper, magnetite, and sulfur. All right, fevers, burns, skin eruptions, wounds, problems caused by or requiring surgery. There we go. That's Mars. All right, Mars, Aries. So again, Mars, Aries, full moon, Aries, all of that energy of being yourself, being an individual, being in your physical body. But shining the light of the Libra Sun and Libra Venus back, right? So it's this back and forth. Again, being yourself, being in relationship, balancing in relationship without losing yourself. A couple more things, I think, and that's about it. Actually, I drew these cards separate from this just before I sat down to do this, and I thought they were kind of perfect. So as I said, I'm a little bit on a Kim Krans kick today. And so the first one, I thought, can reflect a little bit on shadow Libra. So there we go. These are such gorgeous cards. They're from Kim Krans's Alchemy deck. So this is Sakaram, or sugar, sacred sweetness, pleasure, attraction. Oh, how sugar dances on the tongue. No matter how intellectual and scholarly our pursuits, sugar reminds us of our longing for simple pleasures. Until the 12th century, our need for sweetness, it is, after all, one of the 5 essential tastes of Ayurveda. This need for sweetness was fulfilled by raw honey offered by the bees. This material had many medicinal properties and was known in alchemy as a sacred elixir. Now most of our sources of sweetness, both internally, both literally and metaphorically, are highly processed, defined for us by a culture of consumption. This card is a call to explore the simple sweetness in life. Can you add tenderness to your alchemical experiment? How about joy or even laughter? It is likely the pleasure you crave will not be found from manufactured means, but from the childlike wonder residing in the heart. Remember the alchemical wisdom of like attracts like. So kind of a call to a natural sweetness. I think the shadow part was, when I was reading the little sidebar, one of sugar's physical attributes is stickiness. See how this concept affects the cards within the reading and the personalities involved. Attachment rarely serves. All right, so that's sticky attachment that can be part of the Venus signature. The other one was, I thought, very kind of a pointed at Mars, a little too much Mars, which is this lovely card, Oleum Vitrioli, oil of vitriol. Acidity, resentment, purification. When the green lion appears, a great alchemical reckoning is afoot. Long-standing frustration and imbalance cause this regal creature to lash out unconsciously, consuming all in its path. Be prepared for emotional turmoil as the lion thrashes about. Don't worry, these changes are necessary for growth, and in the end will be a relief to all. Purification is the lion's aim, and it's determined to get there one way or another. When this card appears, the question must be asked, am I the green lion or the sun? The one consuming or the one being consumed? It is said that finding oneself in the mouth of the lion is a necessary moment on any spiritual path. As the discomfort passes, the sun's beams shine all the brighter. And then the final card, which I thought was kind of the perfect balance. There we go. Unus Mundus, synchronicity. Unus Mundus. The Unus Mundus is the presiding deity of alchemy. It arrives to remind us that we are not alone in our queries or our journey. What are we here to do? What pulls us forward? Unanswerable questions are timeless fuels for the flames of transformation. Mystics before us have uttered the same questions while tinkering in their laboratory. Do not underestimate the brave act of your attention to the details of your daily life, to the ecology of our world. What you notice matters. You matter. When this card arrives, sacred messages abound. Everything is a living symbol, a synchronicity. Its guidance is sent directly from the alchemists who have come before you to encourage you along the way. See the deeper meaning of what is in front of you. In this very moment, the new eye opens. All right, I think that wraps it up for this lunation. I have some more information, which I think I will draw into the Venus Star Point video that I will do next week. And interestingly, it'll be, I'll try to release it around October 17th, which is the 2-year anniversary, so the number 2 again, for this YouTube channel. So I'll tie that in at that time, and we'll see what else is coming up. All right? So until next time, take care.